Welcome, people. It's Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist, and I'm live on my YouTube channel and recording on a different camera for Instagram. So be sure to follow me in both places. I can't post on Instagram right now because I have a block. I'm always getting blocked. But I'm reporting live from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And in case you're unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science, okay? And that's what my bachelor's degree and my first graduate program was in. And I am currently completing a Master of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics, okay, at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. And I've studied all the ways to take our body to its highest level. That's what I've committed my life to. So it goes to what we put on our skin, the food that we eat, okay, the water that we're drinking, the soaps that we're using, the air that we're breathing, okay, the technology we're being exposed to, all of those things. Sexuality, sexual health. I'm also a doula, so all these things that are involved with optimal performance of the body. And I travel a lot as well. So everywhere I travel, I'm also concerned with and paying attention to access to a healthy, active lifestyle. I'm a native New Yorker who currently lives in Chicago, and I love a walkable city. You know, being from Manhattan, it's a place where you didn't need a car, okay? So to a lot of Americans, taking a walk someplace is like a workout. People think because they walked a few blocks, it was a big deal, you know? And that's the case for a lot of people in suburban America who have their cars parked right in front of their house, and they're driving from one strip mall to the next, and they're going to a drive-through pharmacy, a drive-through ATM, drive-through food. You barely are walking. And in New York, even if you have a car, okay, you don't always park exactly where you're going, and you're going to have to walk more. A lot of New Yorkers live in buildings where you have to walk upstairs. And even just taking the New York City subway, you're walking up and down several flights of stairs. So physical activity is ingrained in your life. And you don't see a lot of obese people in New York City. You also don't see a lot of obese people in D.C., okay? D.C. is a very walkable city. D.C. has decent public transportation. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's here. And depending on where you live in the area, you may be able to do your daily things without having a car or being in a car all the time. So the D.C. area, you know, for those of you who don't know, there's something called the DMV, which is D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So you have like Arlington and Alexandria, Virginia, and Silver Spring, and PG County, and the areas that surround Maryland, the areas that surround parts of Maryland and Virginia that surround D.C. And so it's very walkable. When it comes to gyms, there's a decent amount of gyms. I have a membership to LA Fitness and Export. I have a membership to LA Fitness because LA Fitness is in most of the cities that I go to in America. There's a few of them in New York. There's a lot in New Jersey. They're in Philly. They're all over Chicago. Maybe a few in the Detroit area, LA, Atlanta, Miami, Houston. So LA Fitness is a lot of cities that I travel to, so that's why I have that membership. I also have a membership to Export, which is a chain out of Chicago that also has a few in the DMV and a few in New York City. It's a 24-hour gym. There's no LA Fitnesses in D.C. anymore. For some reason, they all closed. So now all the LA Fitnesses are in Maryland and Virginia, but not the actual city of D.C. Right now, I'm smoking some cannabis that I got from one of my favorite dispensaries, okay? It's a dispensary in D.C. called Tacoma Wellness. Tacoma Health and Wellness, okay? It's in Tacoma Park, D.C., which is also, there's Tacoma Park, D.C. and Tacoma Park, Maryland. Tacoma Park. It's one of my favorite areas in in the DC area. It's a tree-lined street. I love streets with lots of trees and stuff like that. So that area has a lot of tree-lined streets. But the thing, DC has medical cannabis, okay? I thought they were recreational as well, but it seems that DC is just medical cannabis, and Virginia is just medical cannabis. Maryland is recreational and medical, okay? And so last time I was in DC, I didn't have a medical cannabis card. I do now from Illinois. And DC does take cannabis cards. They take medical cards from most other states. You can call and find out what states they take. But when I listened to the list, it seemed like it was every state. They definitely took Illinois. The last time I was here, that was in the fall, I didn't have a medical cannabis card. And so with DC, if you're visiting, they let you get temporary medical cannabis card, okay? So you could be from out of state, you could be visiting for the weekend, a couple weeks, you can get a medical card in DC. And another cool thing about DC, I mean, you can get it right there on the spot. Another cool thing about DC, and it's not that expensive, because other states you have to pay to first meet with a doctor. A lot of times it's telehealth for them to hear about whatever your ailment is and clear you, okay? Because every state has a list of qualifying conditions. Qualifying conditions are the conditions in which they're allowed to clear you or certify you for medical cannabis, okay? And so every state you have to first meet with a doctor, and you have to pay a fee depending on where you do it and when you do it. That fee could be $100, it could be $75, it could be $125. I've seen the price range from $75 to $150 just for that meeting. And then after that, I know in Illinois, it may be different in other states, but after that meeting, I then had to like pay a fee to the state and register something else. So it was like another fee I had to pay. But in DC, you don't have to have a meeting with a doctor. It's the one state, well, DC isn't really a state, but the one state that you don't need to meet with a doctor. You don't need to be certified by a doctor. You can self-certify yourself, which is really cool. You can just say, I need cannabis for medicinally, and I'm saying that I'm using it for that, and you can self-certify yourself, which is really good. And you can get like a card that's like 3 days or whatever, and I don't know the prices, but I know Tacoma Health and Wellness, they have prices on their website, and I'll put that the link to that dispensary below. But it's very affordable, and it's cheaper than going through the whole process that we go through. So yeah, DC does allow you to self-certify, so I did that last time. But this time I had my card from Illinois. However, when I was in Arlington, which is right next to DC, Arlington, Virginia, they are only medical cannabis. I know that Virginia has actual pharmacists that work in all their dispensaries. That's like a requirement. I know Connecticut does that and Virginia does that. I'm not sure if other states do that. But Virginia, you only accepts cards from Virginia. Now, I haven't seen this from any other states, like Pennsylvania and other states who are only medical. They accept cards from most of the other states. Virginia says they only accept it from Virginia, which I think is really weird, especially since, you know, Virginia is right next to Maryland and DC, and I'm sure it borders other states. I think maybe North Carolina. I don't know, but North Carolina has recreational weed, but Maryland has medical, and Maryland has medical and recreational, and DC has medical. And being that Virginia is right next to it, I'm just surprised that, I don't know. But Virginia only takes Virginia medical cards, okay, which is whack. But luckily, if you're in Arlington, you can easily just go to DC, okay, or go to Maryland. If you're deeper in Virginia, somewhere else, that's a different story, okay. And this strain right here is one that I got by Tacoma Wellness Center. This brand is called Sunflower, okay? And this strain is sunflower green pinene, which means it's high in a terpene called pinene. Pinene is the terpene that's in pine. So when you smell pine trees, that whole pine smell, that's pinene. That terpene is good for opening up your lungs. It's a bronchodilator. So it's actually good for breathing. So people who have breathing issues or breathing problems, smoking strains that's high in pinene can actually help with your asthma, help open up your lungs, help with breathing issues, okay? It's also one... It is also one that is good for when you need to focus and maybe you need to do some schoolwork or you need to do some intense working. It's good to smoke before a workout. Okay, this is a good one to smoke before a workout because when you're working out, even when you're lifting weights, you're breathing deep. Deep inhales and really letting it out, especially when you're lifting heavy. So whether you're lifting heavy, whether you're going to a dance class, whether you're going to ride your bike, all of those things, okay, require deep breathing and strong breaths. So smoking something that's high in pinene can be good before a workout. It could be good after a workout. It can be good before a dance class. It can be good before you write something. It can be good if you have breathing issues and you need bronchodilators, okay? Asthma, stuff like that, okay? And despite what people think, smoking cannabis does not cause breathing problems. When you see Michael Phelps got more gold medals than any other Olympian, okay, in the history of the Olympics. Swimmers have the greatest lung capacity out of any other athletes, out of any sport. Swimmers, okay? And Michael Phelps is the most decorated. And he was smoking out of a bong, which I don't even like. That's so much smoke. So obviously that wasn't affecting his breathing. Every singer, I know some amazing singers, some known singers that you guys know of who can really sing, who I have smoked with, they smoke cannabis, okay? So it's not true that it messes with your breathing and all of that. Sometimes you could say it depends on what somebody's smoking. I'm talking about cannabis, okay, not tobacco. Even though this is rolled in a tobacco leaf, a little bit of tobacco is okay, but people who are smoking cigarettes all the time, that has shown to be more detrimental to lung capacity, okay? And it also could be the tobacco that is already chemically treated. You ask if this is a clone or a pure strand? I don't know. I'm assuming it's a clone. I think that most stuff are clones nowadays, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. I can maybe look it up, this brand. So the DMV area, access to medical cannabis is not difficult, and that's good. And that's a good thing. When I think about traveling out of the country, like, there are so many countries where it's not legal, and it's not legal in America, okay? It's just legal in certain states. But because I don't use pharmaceuticals, I'm very anti-pharmaceutical, okay? I use cannabis for a lot of things. Migraines, menstrual discomfort, if I get bites, burns, antibacterial, anti-infection, a lot of different things, okay? And you go to another country, and you have countries like South Africa, medical cannabis is legal, but it's not legal to sell it. It's not legal to buy it, sell it, or smoke it in public, or consume it in public. So that means you have to basically know somebody who grows cannabis that's going to give it to you for free in order to not break the law, okay? So if you're traveling there, it's not easy using it medicinally. And then, sometimes people don't want the flower. You might want an oil or some other kind of edible product. And so when there's dispensaries around, okay, and you're using it medically, you have the option to get an edible or a topical or flower, okay, because you use it different depending on what you're using it for. So this is one of the things that's just good about the United States, period, is that a lot of states, legalizing it, whether it be recreationally or medically, is giving more access to that in that way, okay. And that's one thing the U.S. is doing good with right now, okay. 10 years ago.